I don't care what you do on a daily basis. If you are truly devoted to writing a novel, then you can always find time for it. One of the biggest traps that new and undisciplined writers fall into is not devoting adequate time to their craft. And by this, I mean setting aside an appropriate amount of time to complete an adequate amount of writing. The problem that new writers and even some veteran writers have is thinking that they can write for a little amount of time just when the feeling takes them and expect to be productive. It's unacceptable in other professions, so why would it be acceptable for a writer? If you worked in an accounting office, showing up only when the feeling takes you wouldn't see you through tax season. And if you worked in a grocery store, working until you felt like leaving would probably result in your position being given to someone more dependable. Likewise, if you were the boss of your own company and you decided to work on contracts only when you had nothing better to do, your clients would eventually part company with you. Writing is no different. It really isn't. Time for another of my little tales. Two young men, Tadros and Arka, had hated each other ever since they both fell in love with the same girl. They had recently graduated into high school, and while trying to fit in, they saw for the first time Yura. They had never seen a prettier girl and immediately had a crush on her. They spent the first half of that first year trying to draw her attention, but were so taken by her looks that they were too afraid to actually approach her and ask her out. Then one day, while the two love struck boys were standing in the hallway talking, Yura walked past. As she did, she smiled in their direction. Soon, an argument broke out between Tadros and Arka, each believing he were the one she had smiled at. That was the day they expected the other to withdraw from his pursuit of the lovely Yura. Of course, neither would concede defeat and vowed to never speak to the other again until he had. In time, Yura met and fell in love with another boy, one brave enough to actually ask her out, while Tadros and Arka blamed each other for being the sole reason she got away. Now, as grown men, they each found other women to love and eventually wed. But as much as they loved their wives, it couldn't erase the memory of what they believed they could have had if it wasn't for the other getting in the way of their love for Yura. Their parents remained good friends and would have family and friends gatherings which Tadros and Archer were expected to attend. These forced reunions only served to fuel the hatred the two had for each other. Then one day, a stranger appeared in their neighborhood. For several days, he was seen walking about or merely sitting at the side of the road. He had been noticed by all. Finally, Tadros approached him to find out who he was. Not to be outdone, Archer came out of his house and also stood in front of the stranger. I am glad you have both finally decided to join me, said the stranger. Who are you? Asked Tadros. I am no one of importance, he replied. Then why are you here? Asked Arka. I have been watching the two of you since you were small children. I have watched you grow into the young men you are today. But I have also watched how you have destroyed your friendship over a girl. So I am going to grant you each a wish. But since you have grown such a strong hatred for each other, there is a bit of a manipulation to my offer. You may wish for whatever you desire, but I will then give the other twice what you wished for. Tadros thought for a long moment, not wanting to give anything to the one he hated more than anyone else. But he also wasn't going to deny himself the opportunity of a lifetime. I wish for $1 million, he announced. Very well, said the stranger. I will grant you $1 million, and I will give its double of $2 million to Arka. Now, Arka, asked the stranger. What is your wish? When Tadros heard his wish, he dropped to his knees and began crying uncontrollably. Today, I'll talk about having the time to write, and then I'll tell you what Arca wished for. If you're only able to devote a couple of hours a week, broken up into, let's say, 15-minute segments, then you will find yourself discouraged and contemplating giving yourself your resignation before you really get started. However, if you are able to devote an adequate amount of writing time for yourself and then able to adhere to that commitment, then you will find that the production you will acquire will inspire you to keep going. All I'm saying is don't set time restrictions on yourself that you can't hope to sustain. But also, don't leave the production of your story to chance. The chance that you may feel like writing enough to complete your novel. Having said that, you still need to get some sort of schedule in whatever sort of timetable that you feel you can stick with. Remember, like any other profession, you only get out of writing what you're willing to put into it. Therefore, if you realize that you're not ready to put in an adequate amount of time into the creation of your novel, you need to ask yourself the question: do I really have time in my life for a career as a writer? I don't know the answer to this question, only you can know. If you're a big sports fan and it's the playoffs, I bet you'd find the time to sit down in front of the TV to watch your team, regardless of whatever other commitments you might have. Since you know best what your daily schedule is, you need to determine how best to juggle your day so you can leave yourself with at least 2 solid hours of uninterrupted time to devote to your novel. Let's say you enjoy writing from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. before starting your day. Then, for anything else in your life, work, kids, TV, etc., from now on, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. only exists for your writing. Your regular day now begins at 9 a.m. Or, if you are a night writer and prefer to write from, let's say, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., everything in your day must end before 10 p.m. because, except for your writing, the hours from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. no longer exist. Now, of course, starting your day at 9 a.m. because you have given the hours of 6 to 8 to your writing might not work because you have to get, I don't know, the kids off to school and yourself to work before, say, 9 a.m. Then try devoting 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. or an early enough time to be able to still complete all of your regular morning responsibilities. It's the same if you choose 2 hours at the end of your day. 10 to 12 might not work for you. How about 12 to 2 a.m.? You're probably thinking, what I'm suggesting is either having you wake up 2 hours earlier than you're used to or staying up 2 hours later than you're used to. The thing is, it doesn't need to be at the start or at the end of your day. It could be any 2 hours during the day. Think of it this way: you're used to having 24 hours a day to devote to your daily routine: work, school, eating, sleeping, etc. Now you'll just have to get everything done in 22 hours because two of them now only exist for your writing. Sounds like a big sacrifice. You're right. It is a big sacrifice, especially since you will need to incorporate these into your lifestyle. But like making the sacrifice of getting to your job on time and staying for the entirety of your shift, so must you make sacrifices if you expect to include writing a novel as part of your daily routine. On an average day, think about what you do. Remember, you have 24 hours, the same 24 hours you have at your disposal every day of your life. What do you do with those hours? Well, I already know that you probably devote around 8 hours, an entire third of your 24 hours, to sleeping. Some devote more, some less. But on average, the average person sleeps for about 8 hours. That leaves you with 16 hours. Another 8 hours for work or school. A couple of hours can be given to travel to and from work or school. Now you're down to 6 hours. There are family commitments like getting the kids from school or daycare, getting supper on the table, cleaning up, bath time, bedtime, story time, getting yourself ready for bed, and dropping off to sleep. That should take up the rest of your daily hours. Now what? Let's say your workplace is having their month end inventory and it's all hands on deck. Everyone is expected to put in some late hours during this time. How about your car breaks down and you have to get it into the shop? So, in the meantime, you have to either take car share or public transit. Or you have tickets to the playoff games or a music concert and you don't want to miss it. What happens then? You've already used up all your hours. You used up your last 6 hours on family time. Have you ever heard the phrase, there's just not enough hours in the day? Well, there aren't. Not if you want to do everything, which means to be able to take on more than you're currently taking on during your daily routine, you need to sacrifice one or more things. Maybe instead of sleeping a full 8 hours, you sleep for just 7. You've just found an extra hour. Maybe instead of going into the office, you work from home. Now you've saved 2 more hours. Maybe you hire someone to pick up the kids from daycare or have your spouse or another family member help with feeding, bathing, and putting the kids to bed. There's got to be a couple of hours you can save there. In total, you've given yourself an extra possibly 5 hours without changing your lifestyle too drastically. Now, if you want to take in an evening show or take care of any emergencies, you have some extra hours in reserve. I guess what I'm getting at, regardless of how busy you believe your daily routine is, when necessary, you will always be able to find the time for those extra things that mean enough to you. So, then if writing your novel is important enough to you, you will find some way of juggling around the hours that you're currently working with and find a couple of them to devote to your novel. And now I'll tell you the ending of the story I call Careful What I Wish For. After Arca realized that he was about to receive $2 million, which was, as promised, double what Tadros wished for, he was quite happy. But he still couldn't get over the anger he had for Tadros. So, for his wish, he made it simple, but one that would help him to get over his hatred. I wish to be beaten half to death, he exclaimed. Thanks for watching. And if you found anything I said beneficial to you in any way, hit that subscribe button because you never know, my next video might just be helpful too.